Hi, my name is Tyjei DiRico-Vanloan, and I am a senior in Bridgewater State University.
I'm Nicholas Fonseca. I'm a senior here at Bridgewater State University.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm a senior at Bridgewater State University.
Hi, I'm Doug Tarnovean.
Kids. This one is very disturbing. So I watched this as a kid, and it was one of the most disturbing films I had ever seen in my life. I would not recommend it to watch with your family, even though the movie is called Kids. However, it has themes about drinking, smoking, and the title is an ironic thing about kids being adults but in reality. You know what I mean? It's like a metaphor. But this one is really disturbing and I don't recommend it.
Let's take a look. First film, Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket. It's not everyone's favorite Kubrick, but it's mine. All right? So, Full Metal Jacket, I think, is a great film because it feels like two films in one. This is a double feature in one film, in a way. You get the camp for the first half, and then for the second half, you get the entirety of the Vietnam War and how Private Joker is affected in his time there and in boot camp. And what I think is really interesting is how it's really this interesting loss of innocence story in that Private Joker is sent off to war. He's young, just like many people during the Vietnam War. And what I find very interesting is that early on in the Vietnam section, he's like, how he was telling the machine gunner, how could you kill women and children? And at the end of the film, he kills someone who is both a woman and a young child, the sniper. And so it's very interesting to see like that kind of duality of man, and that, he starts out claiming one thing and in the end he has to do it. And that duality of man thing, it's stated as a theme and it is shown throughout, especially at the end where you have these soldiers who are young men who have been forced into this war they don't want to be a part of, essentially trying to live out a little bit of their childhood by singing that Mickey Mouse song. There's these killers and everything, but here they are singing this song in relation to something they grew up with as kids. And it's kind of like that duality there of childhood and war. And I just thought it was very interesting. Very solid film. I feel like it's relatively an underrated Kubrick.
The first one I'm going to talk about, John Carpenter's Halloween. This one, I think, pretty special for me. My first binge through with my girlfriend, and I've never seen any of them before. Obviously, out of I think all of the Halloweens to come out, this is pretty much it's the best one. I think Jamie Lee Curtis is great. I think Michael Myers is a really good antagonist. I think if this alone was its own movie and the start of different franchises, I think just like this alone is just perfect.
So, the original Night of the Living Dead, I thought it was signed, but it is not. This movie is such an inspiration because George E. Romero just was like, he worked in commercial, like making commercials and industrial films for companies, and he said he was going to go out and make this, and he just went to some town in Pennsylvania. I found a bunch of locals, and they just all flocked to go help him make this film. They all were extras, and they were all zombies and everything, or ghouls, whatever. But it holds up very well. Obviously, it came out in '68 when there was all the riots and everything. Very tough year in terms of civil rights, and he didn't mean to make it so impactful, and he chose I forget his name, the lead actor. He chose him because he was just a good actor, not because of the color of his skin, which I think, obviously it benefited and it worked out in the long run, and it needs so much more now than it did back then. But very good film, and it set the stage for all zombie films.
But let's see what the other ones are. We got Moonlight. This one's really good. So I watched this for class, and to make a long story short, I think it represents African Americans and gay culture very well. I would say it's all right, but I wished that they had more of the when they were adults, more scenes of that would have been cool. But honestly, it's a really good movie, and I think it's really cool. Haha.
I have L'Hain. Okay. L'Hain is probably one of the earlier French films I went ahead and seen. It translated, it's just hate. And basically, this is one of the most stressful films I've ever seen. All right. More stressful than Uncut Gems. Like, watching it, your heart's pounding until basically the end of the film where it feels like you're going to have a heart attack. It is a great commentary in general of just like classism, racism, and just police brutality. It is an excellent commentary while also just being a very entertaining story as you really get along with these three characters as they mess around with each other with dialogue that's so brutish and so like real that it's like I feel like I'm sitting right there with one of these guys, because like it's just filled with this great dialogue that I feel like really brings you into their world and just feels so authentic that it feels like you're a fly on the wall hearing these characters just shoot the shit. And it's just like, it's a weird mix between the most stressful film I've ever seen, but vaguely a hangout movie, like, to me, because you just see them going through their day. And I don't know, I feel like I'm right there with them. And that's what I really value about this film. It's great. It's overall very excellent.
Next we have Mamma Mia. One of the best musicals to ever come out. ABBA. I think that's just enough said. ABBA is great. I think in terms, this is a film that they were like, we can get all of these people and we don't care if they can sing. And about 95% of them can sing really good. And a few of them, we're not going to name names, but they're fine. They're not great, but they're fine. It really makes me think of like, I think today when movie musicals get made, they try to pay for some sort of like singing lessons, give them time. This is just really like, we don't have time for that. However, I think it's really good. It's a good story. It's a good musical to film adaptation, I think. Like I said, everyone's phenomenal in it. They have people that have theater background, don't have theater background. A lot of people's first big break, a lot of people's first big, I think, film. I think the songs are amazing. Like I said, it's ABBA. I think they all do really well with these covers of it, basically. It's a very fun, just chill movie, right?
Mulholland Drive. This movie is very hard to talk about because it is so confusing. It's definitely it's very rewatchable. There's a lot to it, and you really have to think about it. You really have to pay attention to all the details. It's just very good. Performances are out of this world, and this is Naomi Watts' like breakout role, and she's great. I love Naomi Watts, and this movie is just like a very good neo-noir, So I highly recommend checking this out a couple of times. Make sure you space them out because you will go insane.
Oh, this is one of my favorites. Spy Kids is like okay, let me just tell you something. This is the pioneer of cinema, okay? The pioneer. And this has like very detailed story about kids missing their parents, right? And they've been kidnapped by a dumb monster or someone who makes dumb monsters. And it's very complex, very interesting. And I think the green screen holds up till this day. And honestly, I recommend it 100%. I watched this as a kid. It was all right.
Cinematic masterpiece. Drive. All right. Nicholas Winding Refn is the greatest director of all time. All right. Listen, you think Old Boy is good? This beats it. This is better than Old Boy, all right? Because what? You
right.
just say he's right. Shut the fuck up, Doug. Now, you see, this was better than Old Boy, all right? No one wields a hammer like Ryan Gosling, all right? No one beats a guy over the head with a fucking hammer like Ryan Gosling. No one. You hear me? No one. Because no one else drives like him. This is his greatest performance. I don't think Ryan Gosling can ever outdo it unless he does Drive 2, where his character comes back to life and redoes it. Someone just held a copy of Barbie behind camera, and I disagree. All right, I'm kidding too.
Next, I'm going to talk about Perks of Being a Wallflower. I had to read the book in high school. I really enjoyed the book. I saw the movie first, but I think I was about to start high school when I first saw this movie, so I could almost relate to the main character. Like, I was like, is this what high school is going to be like? What is it going to be like for me versus what happened for him? Obviously, stories are different, but it was a good perspective of life, being like, this is someone like going into high school thinking could be the best, could be the worst, makes a bunch of friends, has realizes he's going to be fine through the rest of high school. I had a lot of friends who were upperclassmen, just like him. Like, he had to realize that a lot of his friends were graduating, and like he had to eventually be alone for the rest of high school. And I would do the same thing, but I think those friends made along the way, they really like helped shape what high school was going to be like.
The thing. So, I'll be totally honest. I'm not the biggest fan of John Carpenter. I think his movies are very hit or miss. I definitely need to watch some more to form like a more informed opinion. But this is definitely his best movie, hands down. I think a lot of people would agree. The tension in this movie is palpable, and it inspires so many others. Like, honestly, I could see this being a stage play with how simple it is, and like everyone did such a good job in this, and obviously the special effects, like, it's truly something else. Just very well made movie. Not the best written, but like just very smart filmmaking.
And now we got Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Disney. So I watched this as a kid on repeat, and I would have to say the Snow White's voice was a lot to deal with, but honestly, this whole film is very iconic. It's one of the first Disney animated films. Very interesting. And also, what I think is very interesting is the Evil Queen is like the most iconic villain ever. And her death is very nice. But I overall like this film.
The next film I have to talk about here is Dune. This is not Denis Villeneuve's best film. I think that's caught between Dune 2 and possibly Blade Runner 2049. I'll admit I haven't gone through enough of Denis Villeneuve's films. I should probably see Sicario. But anyways, I still think this is a great film. It does run very slow, but honestly, in terms of adaptation, I've basically read this film so far in the book. And overall, while it takes out some aspects and changes some aspects and moves things around here and there, I think what it adds and shifts around is very good, because it really does show what the book tells, and overall just like does a great job of changing the fact that a lot of the book is a lot of people thinking. It's a lot of the inner thoughts and how they conflict with each other, and like characters knowing one thing while other characters know another thing. In here, he holds the tension and keeps it a surprise instead. And instead of thoughts, you see interactions and visual storytelling. And I think that is the way to adapt a book, right? You take all those words and you basically try to tell it with as many visuals as possible so that you can condense all that knowledge down into one film. And while this is still a long film and slow paced, I think it does a good job of just like telling you things that showing you things that the book tells, while also having little hints of things in the book that aren't major details, but if you read the book, you'd take notice, and it'd be very nice to see. Overall, great adaptation of book, one of the best I've seen, honestly.
Alright, so here's the thing. It's not Spielberg's best, of course. I would love to talk about many other Spielberg movies, but I personally think Ready Player One is really just fun to watch if you're a nerd. They specifically went all out with every single domain possible in this movie as much as they could. I did read the book of this too. I think the book is 1,000% better than the movie, but I do think it's a good adaptation. I think some scenes were cool. Like I think the bit with the Shining, like that was really cool to see. I think that was added, but there was stuff in the book that I would have also liked to see. So it'd be cool to kind of just see those live action. Yeah, I think a lot of different Easter eggs are really cool. Like I like when the guy uses like his Gundam suit, but in the book, like it's that Japanese Spider-Man like Zord type thing. Like it's so like the book really I think gets into like real nerd culture, but I get because I believe Warner Brothers. It's really like we can't venture much outside Warner Brothers. We got to work with what we got, but they still made it pretty like impactful for nerds, right?
There's a few movies out there that are about people like people in a profession, and they suddenly lose the ability to do that profession. And this is one of them. There's movies like The Wrestler and Sound of Metal, but this one stands out because it's kind of like a neo-Western. And it's very understated. It's very quiet. And like this is Chloe Zhao's breakout movie. I don't think it's her first one, but it's very heartfelt, and I really it's heartbreaking, and it's just about accepting life and like what life throws at you, and like the performances in this were really solid as well. Like this guy here, I don't know his name, but Brady Johnru. I might have butchered that, but like he's not an actor. He had no acting training at all. This is his one and only movie, and he did such a great job with it, and I highly recommend it. It's what made Chloe Zhao who she is today, so definitely a stepping stone for her.
I do not like Divergent. That movie sucks. Oh, this one doesn't suck. It's called The Wiz. So, The Wiz is I forgot the word. It's blaxploitation or something of The Wizard of Oz. I said that word extremely wrong. But The Wiz is not a Tyler Perry ripoff, even though it looks like one. It is a movie from the 1970s, and it's really good. The cinematography, I love it when she sings Home. It's very nice and very cool. It's one of my favorite songs, and honestly, watched it as a kid every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, and it was honestly just super cool. And I like the original better, but this one's a good adaptation.
Goodfellas. All right. Scorsese's the man, all right? He is one of the best living filmmakers right now. I think every film I've seen of his is a banger in some sense, and Goodfellas is like near his number one banger because it's just so entertaining. Scorsese really knows how to watch a man build himself up to the top and fall down to the bottom. You know, like, is just such a interesting way that he introduces all these characters, gets you really into their story, and then makes you fear them. Scorsese does a great job of telling stories of characters you would be terrified to meet in real life, and he does a great job of conveying that throughout his films as you become very stressed and as you see these characters kind of just fall from grace, essentially. And that's really, I feel like Scorsese gets that story so well, you know, rising up and falling from grace, and that he just knows it. All right, he's got that down. Every time he's done that type of film, he's got it. But yeah, Goodfellas, it's a great time. These characters are great. If I met them in real life, I'd be terrified, and that's exactly what Scorsese does well.
Whiplash. This is my favorite movie of all time. I've watched this movie so many times. J.K. Simmons, Miles Teller, they are two phenomenal actors. I think everyone can agree J.K. Simmons definitely earned his Oscar for this. He's crazy. He's insane. And the fact that he worked on the short film and then went to this, like, with the same enthusiasm and energy, I think the story is so interesting. I think there's moments of like I like that this is not a film that I think really people would make up little theories about, but like there's so many fun like theories about this movie, like when it comes to what happened to that kid's binder. Like people think the teacher did it to prove a point, maybe someone just took it, maybe it fell. There's like the ending with like Fletcher says something but they cover his mouth, like what does he say? Is he saying good job? Because he brings that up earlier. And obviously the music is phenomenal. I hate that they focus more time on Caravan, because Caravan's great. I think that's the most big impactful moment. However, the movie's not called Caravan, it's called Whiplash. They kind of focus on Whiplash really quick, but I understand it's like Whiplash is the first like really hard piece, and it starts to set the tone for the rest of the movie. And it's just so insane. There's so many things that it's like, so many things happen, like you laugh, you cry, you like, it's just, there's so many emotions that this movie I think can make someone feel, right?
So Mass, a very American story, which is incredibly unfortunate. This is a masterclass of writing. This is just literally 4 people sitting in a room for like an hour and a half talking, and it gets so intense. There's just something so pure about this. I'm just reading the back here. It was the director's first time writing and directing debut, which is insane because it's so well put. The conversations feel so natural, and it escalates so much. It deals with grief, it deals with anger, and like it's so good. The writing is so sharp in this, and it's so simple, and it's amazing. I highly recommend watching this. It's one of my favorites.
So, we got Frankenstein. I watched this as a kid. And honestly, I thought this movie was going to be very scary, very traumatizing. But honestly, it's one of the few films that like makes the monster like more sympathetic. And I think I did that for one of my films, low-key. But honestly, I really like one of these because it's just like super cool. And honestly, it's way ahead of its time, and it was adaptation, and honestly, overall good film, would recommend it. And all I remember that I can think right now is that he drowned a girl by accident. So that was really cool.
Punch Drunk Love is something where I'm not sure, honestly, if I can call it Sandler's best performance, but it definitely comes close to Uncut Gems in best performance. I think this is a film that has a surprising amount of heart to it, the kind of like heart to it that you don't expect to get from Adam Sandler, but you get it out of him. You really feel for him. You really just want to see him succeed here, and he's just a very compelling character that, you know, Paul Thomas Anderson does a great job with visually. Like, you know, Paul Thomas Anderson did a great job in this film. I usually don't watch many of his films, and they're usually relatively slow paced. This one, you know, it's a relative breeze. It looks beautiful, and, you know, it's really carried by Adam Sandler's performance. But, you know, there is also just a really great Philip Seymour Hoffman character in here. You know, he plays the mattress salesman, and he's pretty fun, you know. And I like the way that Adam Sandler interacts with him, and in the end, like, deals with him in a way that's both a little quirky, a little fun, but also just very impactful in the way that he talks about, like, the way that the love he has in his life can make him move mountains, you know. And that's just, this is just the most heart I've seen in a Sandler film. So, it's good. Honestly,
I feel kind of weird pulling this one on, talking about it, because like what hasn't been said about Jaws. It is truly one of my top like 5 favorite films of all times, and it's Steven Spielberg's first directorial debut. No, second. Second. Yeah, I could be wrong, but it is absolutely great. The storytelling in this is insane. The characters, like, it's just a perfect movie. There's nothing wrong with this in my eyes. There's so many. This is a perfect film of like show, don't tell. Yet they do tell a lot. And when you tell rather than show. You really need good performances, and this does a good job at that. Everyone in here is firing on all cylinders. The cinematography is great, the editing's great, the acting, the writing. It is such a good film. And I try to watch it at least once a year, maybe every other year. It's an ultimate film that I think everyone needs to see at least once. And it's truly one of my favorites, and I absolutely love this film. So.
Oh yeah, of course. And yeah, that's it. Why you're filming us?
I don't know. Wait, do I cut it?
Yeah.
Unless he wants
duh.
to redo it. We'll get into the monkey bit either.
Drive is the greatest film ever made.